In September 2022. I'm on Reddit, on a roleplay subreddit to be more specific, looking for someone to write with. I stumble into that random ad of someone looking for original character. Until then, I had always been interested in canon characters. So basically in doing some self-insert into the show, book, anime, you name it, I was into. I was bored that day, so without really expecting anything, I commented and messaged the person who posted the ad. So to start with, the fact that I made this weird exception that day now seemed like it was meant to be. Very quickly, we started writing, and we talked every single day. We both enjoyed how we wrote even if English isn't my first language, and we appeared to have a lot in common. The same sense of humor, the same view of love, the same tastes in books, and so on. At that time I lived with my ex. We just had passed our 5th-year anniversary and hadn't done anything in particular to celebrate it. My relationship with my ex was complicated. I was stuck in life in a lot of ways. I never had a job, I did not felt loved nor cared for by my partner, I had no dreams, no projects. I was just surviving, not even realizing how miserable I felt. The more I talked to my roleplay partner, which is my SP and that I will refer to as B from this point forward, the more I realized that I wasn't happy in my relationship. I didn't meant to, but I fell in love with B. Now, let's talk about his situation. He was married, with 3 kids. I live in France, he is American. Very quickly, we started to develop feelings for one another. It's not what we were looking for, but it just happened naturally. I think I'm not exaggerating if I say it was like a wave crashing on the both of us and our life. I was still living with my ex, but already my mind was imagining how it would be to live with B in the U.S. He was still married, and was doing his best to keep his family happy, to keep his marriage intact. At the end of 2022, I broke up with my ex, and had to start packing to go back at my parents' house. It was the first time in my life that I was breaking up with any of my partners, and that 5 years relationship had been really important to me, so it was difficult. In January 2023, I started slowly getting into manifestations. It was a struggle, because I was dealing with a lot of emotions, anxiety, as well as suicidal thoughts. I would later on get on meds and get diagnosed as being autistic, which explained a lot of things about myself, but it's not really relevant to our story. I moved back in March with my parents, and every day I kept repeating my affirmations. It became easier by the day, but there was difficult times when I would burst out crying and feel hopeless as B was still holding on to his relationship with his ex-wife, even though his marriage was pretty toxic and unhappy, his words. In May, we had a no-contact week that B was the one to impose. He wanted us to cut ties completely. At that time, my affirmations were a daily lullaby in the back of my mind. Without them, I would have probably shattered, but I didn't. I managed to stay strong, somehow, and I just kept believing that we would be together no matter what. Since we met, we had talked every single day, so it was hard, but eventually, he was the one to message me first. Still, B was focused on his marriage, but at that moment I didn't cared. I was just so relieved to have him back. We fell back into our daily routine of talking. Sometimes we would do face calls too, but those were rare at that times as he was still trying to sort of keep me at an arm's length. The summer went by, and I decided to see a high school friend of mine. We drank, and we ended up having sex, even though it wasn't planned. I don't know if that's what shook B a little bit or not, but he did a total 180. He went from wanting to go to couple therapy with his wife, to talking seriously about divorcing. I was in shock as well, but also saddened, because B had become my best friend, and I hated to see how hurt he was by his own relationship with his ex-wife. It took a few more weeks, but eventually, he asked me to wait for him. To wait for him to heal, to get himself and things sorted. In February of this year, he officially asked me to be his girlfriend, and his trip to France is scheduled for August. Now, his ex-wife has a new boyfriend and seems to be happy with him as far as I know. B's kids love me, and I love them too, they are amazing kids. I never planned to have kids in my own, so it is also a way for me to explore the journey of being a maternal figure. So, when it comes to manifesting, what worked for me and what didn't. Affirmations, and the feel of the wish fulfilled, were my main method. I still use it to this days, because there's more for us I want to see come to life. I describe my process as a mantra, a singing prayer. It's not just words, it's a warm feeling. I know some people would say that affirmations are the seeds you plant in your subconscious, but don't imagine them as seeds. They are already a fully bloomed tree. They are real, they exist, you're simply reaching for them. Sats also have been a reoccurring thing I like doing, but I'd either fall asleep too early or on the opposite. Doing sats would cause me to have insomnia, no idea why. I also used to meditate as often as I could. Not only did that help me sink and simmer in my affirmations, but it also honestly improved my mental health in and off itself as well. I think the turning point really was when I let it go. When I said to myself, fuck it, go have some fun, he's yours anyway. It wasn't so much letting go of B, but letting go of the worries, the struggle, realizing that in the end, everything would be alright. In the end, we were together. I also used to write scripts, because I enjoy the act of writing, and it was a rather meditative process. People are right when they say to get off the sub and go live, but I also understand that craving need of reassurance, and that's exactly why I'm posting my success story. If I could give you one tip, try to imagine your future self, the one who has your desires done. Imagine this version of you reassuring your current you, telling you that everything is alright. I used to do that when I was really done, and now? It's the other way around. I am my future self, and I imagine reassuring my past self. Because it's exactly what happened in reality. Now, I would also like to thank a person for that sub that has been very supportive and an attentive ear when I was at my lowest. They will recognize themselves. And to finish, thank you B, my beloved, mon amour, because I know you're going to read this post, and that you will comment on it. I know your beliefs are a bit different, but I know you'll still be gentle and understanding. I love you. So in February 2021, I finally shut down a bad toxic cycle I had with an ex-SP. Enough was enough. I was all the things you would never expect to be in a happy, loving, fulfilled relationship. So I blocked his ass and came back into my power. I was still pretty new at manifesting and getting the hang of it. I was watching videos on Neville Goddard religiously, and it finally clicked. Everything started with me. I started meditating daily, just those YouTube meditations, the guided ones, because I needed my higher self with me all the time. I started to feel comfortable just being with myself and my higher self. I gave my younger self, even if it was the person I was a couple days ago, all the love that other person couldn't or wouldn't do to my own thinking give me. I tell you, I have never gotten over someone so quickly. With ample self-love and focusing on my self-concept, I finally started feeling okay, which was more than enough for me, and just knowing that no matter what happened, I am still worthy of finding the love I so deeply desire, because I desired myself, and I was starting to learn that I am the desire. Everything started with me. I remember just feeling pure bliss and comfort in my own self, and in my own body. A feeling that was unmatched by anyone else at the time. I wrote down a list of qualities I so deeply wanted from my partner, U.S.C. This is when the signs started coming. I would feel secure in love, and in money, and in work. I manifested a new job working with children which I absolutely loved, only for the family I was working for to offer me an incredible full-time opportunity at their family business, becoming a balloon decor artist, and creating beautiful designs for weddings, birthdays, and other occasions. I was thriving and finally felt like I found something I was passionate about. I made incredible friends, a beautiful group of uplifting women. It was this opportunity that shifted everything. All my friends were in loving, fulfilling relationships, and I wasn't even jealous of them. I was genuinely happy, and knew that this was my sign that mine was coming. Fast forward July of 2021. This is 5 months after I cut that toxic negative cycle out of my life. I was in such an incredible place. I woke up feeling so content and so happy, and before even doing anything, I would meditate. One thing I learned from these meditations is that you have to take the bad with the good. Even if you're feeling like absolute crap, you have to give those parts of you even more love and reassurance, otherwise you will never feel whole. I feel like this was an aha moment. I went into work on the July 12th, 2021 feeling like the best version of myself, loving each and every cell of my body, knowing that I am the prize and nothing will ever top that. That day, I ended up working a bit later than I expected to because it started raining so bad that I was unable to leave without getting soaked, and I was only wearing a light t-shirt and I didn't want to risk getting ill. My housemate had COVID, so I was living with my other friend in another part of town, so my commute was a bit more complicated than usual. However, my manager offered me a lift to the nearest station if I just waited a bit longer so that she could get the kids settled after school. I went back into the workshop. I worked from her house in a little warehouse in her back garden, alone in this one room, so I had a lot of time to myself. Highly recommend during this journey. I put my headphones in and started watching YouTube videos on manifestation and self-concept whilst tidying up a bit more and waiting for my manager. I came across this one video on Shuffle and let it play. It was a video of YouTuber Roxy Talks just talking about manifesting an SP. I wasn't interested in having an SP at the time, and I distinctly remember laughing to myself when listening, and I just said out loud, "Ha. I don't even want a boyfriend right now." Boy, was I wrong. My manager finally ended up dropping me off to the station, but she got confused and dropped me off at the wrong one. The one I needed to get to was across some busy roads and there was too much traffic and I didn't want her to be away from the kids for too long, so I said it's fine. I got out and walked the rest of the journey. I ended up finally getting to the station I needed to be at, only to find that all my trains had been cancelled due to the heavy rain. I was stuck. I started looking for taxis, and they were over £60 to get to where I needed to be, so I was wondering what to do. I stood further inside the station and tried to plan my journey. I was desperate, I was tired and I was cold, but deep down I was content because the situation was so funny. I just smiled to myself. As I was planning my journey, this man walked into the station and I looked up briefly and thought, oh, he's cute, didn't think anything much of it, just started scrolling through my phone again. I shuffled a bit closer inside as more and more people were coming into the station trying to shelter from the rain. I looked up and saw him doing the same thing as me, looking for transport and a way to get back. I didn't think anything of it, I just continued. A couple of minutes later, I saw this figure approach me, and I looked up and it was him. Train station guy. He asked me for directions to get somewhere and I simply showed no interest. I said, sorry, maybe you can get a bus from outside and see where it takes you, and he just smiled and said, oh okay, no worries, but before I go, can I get your Snapchat? I was like, who in their entire mind is using Snapchat these days? So I said, aren't you going to miss your bus? And he said, it's fine, I'll get the next one. Is that a no then? I wasn't interested in being someone's booty call or bit of fun. But something inside me told me to trust and to just give it to him. He didn't seem like a threat, he approached me politely, even when I was looking questionable. I gave him my Snapchat and he smiled, and before he left, he shook my hand and said it was so lovely to meet me, and hoped I got home safe. Not even 5 minutes later, I got an ad, and he messaged saying that it was great to meet me and he was on his way to work and the bus took him to the right place. We called and chatted and he said he'd like to take me out, watch the sunset and just chill. 5 days later I was on my first date with a stranger that felt like home. He brought a box of cut-up fruit and a blanket, and we lay in the park watching the sunset, talking about ourselves and life. Almost 3 years later, I am now in a loving, committed, fulfilling relationship with this man, and he is the best boyfriend, partner I could have ever asked for. He is the sweetest soul, the sweetest man, and I know he is going to make the sweetest husband. Everything just feels so easy with him. Let me tell you, of course he knew where he was going. He lived right next to the train station, and he took that route every single day. He just needed an excuse to talk to me. He always tells me how he felt an intense pull towards me, and he thought I was so beautiful that he had to take some sort of contact. He said he would never ask for personal info like a phone number or anything like that from a stranger, which I thought was sweet, and he didn't hug me because imagine if he was a thug and tried to rob me. LMAOO. This leads me to say this. Everything is leading you to your manifestation. I was so content being my own lover, my own partner, my own everything, that the 3D had to reflect that to me. It had to give me a partner who loves me as much as I love myself. Even our first date was everything I wanted and had scripted. It was like he just knew. Since that day, my trust and love for this law has only grown. I assumed I was already in a content, loving, committed relationship with myself and I would always be there for me, that the 3D reflected that very thing back to me, even though I said that I didn't even want a boyfriend 2 hours before this all unfolded. I wasn't expecting it, I just trusted the universe was loving me and bringing me everything I wanted at the right time. I was in the energy of receiving and I did. Trust in your desire. You are your desire. You are everything you wanted right now. It lives and breathes inside of you, you just have to believe that no matter what. No matter what. Everything is conforming around you to give you what you want. Everyone is you pushed out. He was me pushed out, he reflected all the love I had given to myself. Your partner is a deep reflection of how you feel about yourself and relationships. I still think. Imagine if my housemate never got COVID, if I wasn't delayed by the rain, if my manager hadn't dropped me off, if I had chose to take the long route home from the wrong station, if I had just left on time, I would never have met him. To this day, we are just so in love, and it feels like I'm still in the honeymoon period 3 years into this relationship, and I don't feel it wearing off anytime soon. This man is a pure reflection of me, and even when I have down days and moments where my self-concept isn't up to scratch, I notice him reflecting that, but because I go back and give love to those unhealed, triggered parts of me, he loves them too. That's what makes me, me. I fall into deep trust through meditating, through affirming, through imagining. I take some time out for myself and I listen to my body. I am able to effortlessly create the relationship I want just by changing my assumptions. Remember, your body is in the 3D, so it may take a little time to catch up to your affirmations. But keep going. If I had the law proven to me like this, who am I to doubt? God, the Creator, is perfect. He made me wait as much as I needed for me to get my shit together and love myself the way I wanted to be loved before he gave me an exact reflection of that. I was in my end without even knowing it. And I manifested the purest form of love through my partner. I trust in all of you, and I know that if you give yourself the love you so desperately desire, everything else will align. Fall in deep trust with yourself and the Creator and watch the magic unfold. I even manifested him back after a break.